Today I am going to be demonstrating a technique that is called Notan, which is a Japanese style of design. So what you're gonna need is some glue. I prefer glue, liquid glue, but you can use glue sticks. We're also gonna need a pair of scissors and some different colored paper. Now, in class, we're gonna be using a big 12-inch sheet, and then these smaller, these are 6-inch. I would suggest picking a size that is about half for your second layer on the bigger paper, because when you start cutting these up, and you'll see why in a second, it can take up a lot of space. So Notan is a technique that contrasts between light and dark and positive and negative space. So to do it, you're going to take a sheet of paper. Now you have to make sure that you're only cutting from one side, so don't cut over your corners. You have to make sure you leave those. So you're going to go in from the edge, and I'm just going to cut a curvy line here to make kind of a curvy kind of triangle. Now, once you do that, you're going to lay it down, kind of piece it in there like a puzzle piece. And then you're going to flip it and then line up the edges. And that is how you create a Notan shape. So we've created a shape out of the negative space. So there's actually nothing there, but it creates a mirror image of that shape. Now, how this gets interesting and beautiful is when you start flipping back and forth. So I'm going to take this shape, hold it, then I'm going to cut again, kind of a similar shape, triangle. Then I always like to, because sometimes I forget which way it goes, flip it, line up my edge there. And then on this side, line it up, flip it again. Just like that. So you can start creating a really interesting and beautiful design by that. And you can do this as many times as you can fit in the paper. And you can see how that lines up, and you can begin to create some really cool, interesting designs. Now, for class, we're going to be doing a minimum of 3 cuts, and you're going to be cutting from each side. So that means I'm going to also cut from this side. And remember, don't ever cut over the corners. Always leave the corners where they are. But you can cut here and then flip that one out and do the same thing we did over in here. And once you have one finished and glued on, we're gonna add another color over top and repeat. And you can look at the example that I've included to see what that will look like. Also, another tip, when you start gluing these down, if you're using glue sticks, it may get a little sticky. But when you're using this kind of regular glue, you take your shape, I always use tiny little dots and kind of spread them around, because if you use a ton of glue, it's gonna smush out the sides and it will start to warp your paper and it'll get real bent. And you don't want that to happen. So a little bit of glue, spread it out and lay it out just like that. And make sure that those edges are always touching so that you're creating those shapes with the negative space.